It's amazing how much quieter it gets the closer I stand to the microphone. Got you all worried. I'm gonna let everyone file in and sit down before I jump into it. We just had a brief discussion of how to start this, and the answer was wing it. And I'm not doing a good job at it right now. My name is Melanie Bresnan. I'm a member of this congregation, and I am, like I think we all are, so happy to know Lóre Stevens, and so happy to be here to support her. The next step, this is so cool, Harvard Divinity School. Holy cow. And just for that, I brought all of my most irreverent, vaguely biblical music. But I'm going to start with a song about leaving. Dreamed of you last night, but it wasn't quite right. Wasn't quite like it used to be. Whenever we touched, there wasn't that rush. Just a vague sense of unease. And I still sleep on one side of the bed, like you might come and rest your head on a pillow next to me. But it's just another habit to break. 'Cause my heart still beats for you, but it rings empty, 'cause it's just muscle memory. You say your love is true, it don't tempt me, it's just muscle memory. Oh, moves on replay, see the things that you'd say. Rose-colored how it used to be. Can never go back to the love that we had. Now I know what's underneath, and I still keep that dress you didn't like in the corner, like it might still matter what you think. But it's just another habit to break. 'Cause my heart still beats for it's just muscle memory. Oh, it's just muscle memory. Oh, lost devotions, say the words and I ignore them all. 'Cause my heart still beats for you. It rings empty, 'cause it's just muscle memory. You say your love is true, it don't tell me, it's just muscle memory. Oh, it's just muscle memory. Although hopefully Lóre doesn't feel the way about this congregation that I clearly do about my ex-boyfriend. Thank you. Oh man. But I hope you leave feeling empowered, especially if anybody here ever told you that they don't like your dress. Yeah, as I was playing that, I was like, this feels like the wrong kind of leaving song. Oh, I do need the capo for this. Well, this is I feel like I can get away with this in a UU church. My family is Catholic. Once upon a time, I had a one-night stand, and I had a sudden resurgence of Catholic guilt. It comes back every once in a while. You get flare-ups. And I wrote a song about it. And this felt, I was like, someone's going to divinity school. When am I going to have a better opportunity to play my biblical sex song? There's a friend I call up late at night when I'm pining for a man. We both have too much free time, too few friends, and too few plans. On Friday night he'll hold me till he's perfume on my skin. Before sunup on Saturday he's headed home again. But the good book says the devil's work lies in our idle hands, so we get busy. Mama says, is he a nice boy? I say, no, but boy, sure good. Does he ask God for forgiveness? I say, no, but boy, sure should. Did you take it slow, girl? I say, I'll walk when you can run. She said, is this one forever? I said, this ain't love, but it sure is fun. Sure is fun. With Sunday morning coming down, I can feel that I have sinned. And I go to wipe my slate clean so I can fill it up again. In the booth, I must confess, he is the best I've ever had. Gonna take a few Hail Marys to get my angel back. But the good book says the devil's work lies in our idle hands, so we get busy. Father says, is he a nice boy? I say, no, but boy, sure good. Does he ask God for forgiveness? I say, no, but boy, sure should. Did you take it slow, girl? I say, well, walk when you can run. He said, is this one forever? I said, this ain't love, but it sure is fun. Oh, yeah, sure is fun. Sure is fun, sure is fun. Mama says, is he a nice boy? I say, no, but boy, sure good. Does he ask God for forgiveness? I say, no, but boy, sure should. Did you take it slow, girl? I say, well, walk when you can run. He said, is this one forever? I said, this ain't love, but it sure is fun. Oh, yeah, sure is fun. No. Sure is fun. Sure is fun. Sure is fun. Thank you, guys. Wait, keep the applause going for Lóre Stevens.
Wow. It always amazes me how many really, really talented people we have at this church. Can we have one more round of applause for Melanie? Like soul. I love it. Hi, everybody. Thank you all for being here tonight. I'm just so grateful. Oh, God, I'm not going to cry. Okay, so tonight for me is all about saying thank you. This church has meant the absolute world to me. Like, this wouldn't be happening without you guys. And so I want to take the time to say thank you, and hopefully we'll have a little bit of fun. This is also going to be pretty personal because I want to talk about why I'm so grateful, like why this church has meant so much to me. And in order to do that, we need to rewind a little bit. I think I've talked a little bit about my identity, the fact that I'm mixed race and queer and an atheist. I talk about those three things constantly, so I know you all know that. But I want to talk a little bit about who I was before this church. So my parents are from Michigan, and they got married up there and came down to Knoxville, and that's where they had me and my brother. My mom's Mexican, my dad's white, and so like right out the door, we didn't fit. We didn't fit in our East Tennessee rural elementary school. We were the literal only Mexican kids there. We didn't fit in our own family. Like at family reunions, with my mom's family, we didn't speak Spanish. And so we literally couldn't talk to our own family. It was really weird situation for kids to be in. And when I was 11, my parents got divorced. It was really messy, really tough divorce. And my mom moved my brother and I back up to Michigan to be near her family. And we got there, and I just hated it. I was the most angry 11-year-old you've ever met in your entire life. Because we had gone from like the rural, idyllic, Smoky Mountains, frolicking in rivers, and being able to go outdoors whenever I wanted to, the like frozen tundra, the concrete jungle of Metro Detroit, and I was just like, what is this? What's happening? My family's breaking, and I don't know which way is up, and I sleep on the living room couch now. What if, and I'm hitting puberty. That's a lot. And so it was just like a really strange time for me, and I started acting out. I really blamed my mom for like doing this to me. And so we started fighting, and we kept fighting. That was basically the theme of my whole adolescence, was this antagonism that turned into abuse with my mom. And I mean, I was kind of a wild child a little bit. I would get into fights at school. I stopped doing my homework. I would steal my mom's car in the middle of the night sometimes and drive around. Like, I mean, I was having some emotional difficulties. Let's say, how do you say? And so by the time I finally got to go to college, I was so excited. I was so excited I would get to be free. I was an adult now, and I could go and learn with people who wanted to learn and not just like be cool all the time like the other high schoolers. I was just super pumped to go to college, and I was like, I'm gonna get as far away from my mom as I can. So I moved from Metro Detroit to the western coast of Michigan, which is not that far. But I was really excited to be hard. Because of my abuse, I was really not very good at socializing, not really good at making friends. And so I didn't make any. And I ended up holding myself up in my room, isolating, like literally just, I would buy a pizza on the weekends, and I would bring the pizza into my room, shut the door, and that's where I spent my weekends. And that's how basically my time at Grand Valley State University went. I just sank deeper and deeper into this serious depression. And I thought, okay, well, maybe when the winter lifts, maybe this will lift too. And it got to the point where I remember looking out on the lawn by the pond in the middle of campus and thinking, I could overdose and fall asleep on the grass, and I don't think anyone, and not wake up, and I don't think anyone would notice that I was gone. And that was kind of a scary thing to start thinking. But I had read this young adult book called It's Kind of a Funny Story. And the main character in that book feels similar feelings and checks himself into the ER of a hospital. And so I knew that was a possibility. And so one night when I was really feeling it, I walked to the local hospital and I checked myself in, and I was like, I need some help. I am not handling this. And I spent the night in the ER because it was really late. I spent the night handcuffed to a gurney. And in the morning, they took me by ambulance to a bigger hospital that had a psych ward in it, and I spent a little bit of time there. Gosh, Lori, I thought this was going to be a comedy show. But it was made pretty clear pretty quickly that I didn't need to be there. I mean, I had gone through a lot of abuse, and I was in deep depression, but compared to some of the other folks who were there, I was maybe a little bit of a day tripper. But it was such a meaningful experience to me because I got to meet folks, I got to get out of myself a little bit and meet folks who were dealing with really serious problems, the kinds of which I couldn't previously imagine. I got to engage in group therapy for the first time and listen to the stories of these other women who had gone through trauma, the likes of which I could not have imagined in my wildest dreams. And I got to be present for them and get out of my own adolescent mind that was just constantly thinking about myself at the time. I met a man who was experiencing, he had paranoid schizophrenia, and I don't know if it was because I was curious or non-threatening, but he showed me his journal, and it had all of these really beautiful drawings and writings sprouting from inside of his really amazing mind. And I just felt so honored that just by sitting and being curious that somebody would want to show me something like that. So I got out of there after a little while, and I transferred schools. I went to a different college my sophomore year, and I was like, this is gonna be different. I cannot do it the way that was my freshman year. So I went as different as humanly possible, and I joined a sorority. Most folks, when I tell them that, they fully do not believe me. They're like, wait, are you joking? They're Alpha, Gamma, Delta, I kid you not. And that ended up being such a wonderful experience. This group of quirky, funny, smart, really kind women saw this basically feral cat and let me join their club. And I still had a hard time making friends. I still had a hard time doing it as naturally as it seemed like other people could do it. But I remember I actually like studied. I was like, how do friend? How does this? How are they doing this? And I remember noticing that folks, they would hug, they would smile at each other. Wow, Lori, good observation. And they would ask each other questions, and that seemed to me to be like kind of the basic building blocks. And I was like, I can do that, beep boop. And so I tried, and it started going pretty well. I started to come out of my shell a little bit and get a little bit more confident. And my sophomore year went by, and that summer, I went and stayed back at my mom's house, which was still a pretty unsafe place for me. And there was one day where we were driving. She was driving, I was in the passenger seat, my brother was in the back seat, and we got into a fight, and I don't even know what it was about. It doesn't matter. Everything we talked about was fighting. And I disagreed with her on something, and I wouldn't back down. And as she was driving, she backhanded me. And I think maybe because I was a little bit more confident, I didn't stop fighting. I kind of egged her on. I was like, that didn't hurt, and she backhanded me again. And I said something like, you can't stop me from having an opinion that's different than yours by hitting me anymore. I'm an adult. I'm 20 at this point. And she backhanded me again and again and again and again and again while she's driving with her children in the car. And she knocked my glasses off my face into the back of the seat where my brother was, and we pulled up to an intersection to stop, and my brother kind of timidly handed my glasses back to me. And I got out of the car, and I walked away. I called my dad, who lived here in Nashville, and he told me, like, Lori, you're an adult now. What do you want to do? So I called the police, and I got my mom arrested for assault. And so I couldn't go home after that. I didn't press charges. I didn't go to the court date, but like I couldn't go home after that. But luckily I had my sorority sisters who let me couch surf with them the rest of the summer before school started. But I was technically homeless for a summer. But after that, I told my mom I didn't really want her in my life anymore for the time being, that whenever we were together, we were just toxic to each other. I mean, I wasn't behaving very well either. I was being just as cruel now that I was an adult and was kind of conscious of the situation. We just weren't good for each other. And after I told her that we needed to take a break from being in communication, I kind of blossomed, honestly. My junior year, I met my first girlfriend, and I came out as bisexual, which was so exciting. My sorority sisters were wonderful about it. I kept learning how to be more social to the point where, at one point, my sorority gave me a Pep and Vitality Award. Which, for someone who had kind of been over the idea of living, to be given an award about liveliness, I was like, wow. It meant a lot that like all the work I had been putting into being human was obviously kind of working. I was happy that that was seen. I even ended up as their pageant contestant for Miss Greek. With this hair. It's amazing. It was an amazing experience. And so I really came into my own a little bit. I felt a little bit closer to like, oh, this could be who Lóre Stevens is when she's not like crumpled up. And I was so in love with my girlfriend that I met at the time. I just followed her right into the grad program that she went into because I didn't really know what else to do with my life. We graduated and we bought an RV, which was really fun, and we traveled around the country. Our first stop was Texas because it was winter, and we were like, get the heck out of Michigan. Let's just, literally as far as we could go in the country away from Michigan. And something happened while we were in Texas. We had been there for a couple of months, just working some crappy job out in the wilderness. And we were at a gas station, and I was pumping gas into our big red Ford F-150. And We had just seen a movie. It wasn't a very special night. I was like reading an article on my phone by this punk rocker named Andrew WK. Don't know if any of you are familiar with him. This like really intense like screamo punk rocker who was writing an advice column for the Village Voice. And he's like actually a very wise, kind guy. And so I'm reading this article where someone wrote into him to say that their roommate was being pretty openly racist. And like, what do you do about that? And Andrew WK wrote back and said, talk to your roommate about how being racist, not only does it hurt the person that he's prejudiced against, he knows that, but it also hurts him and it hurts you. It's dehumanizing you all, because if you dehumanize one person, you're really dehumanizing yourself. And I had never quite heard it. I had never read it like put that way before, but I was like, oh, right, we're like connected. Wow, amazing. And I don't know if it was the fumes from the gasoline or like what, but something clicked in my brain, and this really intense physical experience that I very self-consciously call an epiphany happened, where I was just hit by this really exciting realization that everything in the universe is connected to each other, like down to our particles, down to that the breath that we're exchanging, like is part of like the living whole universe. And I had never thought about that before. I hadn't grown up going to church, so none of this kind of woo-woo idea, this was all new to me. And I just was like, for hours, I was laughing and crying and like, wow, oh my gosh, the universe is amazing and I'm part of it and it's part of me and wow, very exciting. And the feeling kind of faded and I was like, oh, that was weird. And I just like went back to normal life. We took the RV up to New York, and we were in New York City for Pride, the day that marriage equality was legalized, which was so gay. It was the gayest New York City has ever been. And it was so fun and so exciting, and we kind of got swept up in it, and we got engaged. And that didn't really work out. Oopsie. In hindsight, pretty clear that it wasn't going to work out. But we didn't break up until we got to Nashville. And it was pretty quick after we got here that we had a really bad breakup. I took it pretty hard. Again, this person I had like put my trust in, had kind of hurt me. And one of the reasons that I think this congregation and I clicked as well as we did is because you all have gone through something like the abuse of power that I experienced with my mom. You all have been through an experience where someone in power who should be there to care and guide you, like that's their role, does the opposite and hurts you and takes advantage of that power. And so this time, at least, with my now ex-fiance, I had some like tools at my disposal. I had gone through this before. I knew what I needed when I was this upset. I knew I needed community. I knew I needed some kind of purpose, something to do with myself, and maybe like a little bit of distraction would be really nice. And I was excited to kind of explore Nashville. I had only been here like 3 weeks at this point, so I didn't have any friends. I didn't really know where to go. And I also, I came here like 3 weeks after my breakup, very, very quick. And I don't, to be honest, y'all, I don't know why. I don't know what brought me here, because I had never gone to church before. I didn't know anything about Unitarian Universalism, so I didn't know how cool you all would be with like this whole situation. I don't really know why I was curious about it. I know now, but it was a weird choice. And I remember coming to the service and then going to the social hall and being terrified, like a little intimidated, just because I still was a little bit shy. And so I went out on the patio and I waited and I was like, okay, we're just gonna take a second and then we're gonna go and talk to all these strangers and it's gonna be fine. And Sarah Green came out and sat with me for a little while. And I was like, oh, there's somebody else here like me. Oh, this is great. And now I know that there's tons of people here like me, but at the time, she looked a little bit more like me. Pardon me, altar. And so I started coming here a little bit more and a little bit more. I joined in the spring, and then like a month after I joined, you all hired me as your membership coordinator. I was shocked. I was like, I kind of don't, I just sort of threw my application in the ring, and I was like, this will be fun. There's no way. But somehow, for some reason, you all gave me the shot for that one, which was such an amazing gift to get to know the church from the inside, to have a requirement to continue coming, to not like be able to chicken out. It was really, really, was really good for me. But I was teaching new member classes without really knowing. It was like a cat leading a dog. It's like, I feel so grateful to the folks who came through the new member classes at that time. I hope we did okay. I hope we did a good job teaching them about Unitarian and Universalism. Luckily, we had the staff who had more experience than me to do it. And so I was the membership coordinator for about a year, and then I went to my first General Assembly, my first GA, which those of you know is our big national conference. And it was in New Orleans in 2017, and the big racial controversy was kind of bubbling up and happening, and it was a tense GA. People were upset for a variety of reasons, but I was impressed that they were having the conversations at all, because everyone that I had seen up to that point just got furious and quit talking to each other. So the fact that this big organization, it wasn't going, smoothly, it wasn't comfortable, but it was happening at all. I didn't really know what to do with myself while I was there. I still didn't really know anybody, and I just sort of walked around from workshop to workshop, like, what do you want? How me here? Why? And I kind of stumbled into this mini assembly where they were editing this document. They were putting the finishing touches on this document called the Statement of Conscience on Income Inequality. And I was like, oh, I studied that in college. I can help with that. Can I help with that? And they were like, of course, democratic process, come right in. And I was like, this is cool. And these folks had been working on this document for years at this point. It was a beautiful, it was in its final draft, and it was wonderful. And I was also working at the library at this point, working with folks experiencing homelessness. And so I noticed this one line that said, for folks in poverty, well, it was a little more formal, it didn't say folks. It said, for people in poverty, they find it to be a struggle to go from their homes to their jobs because of a lack of public transportation. And you all know me, I love public transportation. So I was like, great line, yes, correct. And there's a lot of folks who don't have homes, but do have jobs and need public transportation. So can we strike just that little phrase about from their homes? They were like, great, good catch. I helped. I helped. Oh my gosh. I was in the room and something changed, and it was so exciting. I felt like it's good that I was here. And it was just this teensy little change, but it felt really big to me. And I came back, and that was the summer, I believe, that Jason Shelton was wrapping up his time here with us. And I had really loved being on staff with him. He's such a funny, wise, straightforward dude. And he left, and before he left, gave me a sign. Like a literal sign. He left this on my desk, and it says, there's a Post-it note that says, in case you should ever need it. I was like, Jason, I had not the slightest inkling that ministry was a possibility for me at this point. I was like, did he leave this on the right desk? Was this a mistake? It doesn't say my name on it. Is this right? I don't know, I was flattered. I was like, this wonderful music minister sees something in me, maybe. This is cool. But I didn't really know what to do with it. But I did know that as the membership coordinator, I kind of couldn't participate in the church the way I wanted to. I couldn't, do a lot of extracurriculars. So later that year, after being the membership coordinator for a year and a half and really enjoying it, I went ahead and resigned, and I jumped into being a lay leader with both feet. I joined the choir, I was a worship associate, I started teaching Sunday school, and it was really wonderful. I really just wanted to see how this congregation worked from as many sides as I could, because this is the first church I've been in. I was like, why does this work? What are people getting out of it? Why is this experience good for people? And that helped me understand why it was good for me, because I kept having those little epiphanies, like the one I had in Texas. I kept having those moments of connection and talking with folks who felt similarly but a little bit different, and I was like, okay, this feeling isn't going away, that this feeling of connection and sharing that connection with people, this feels important. This bell keeps getting rung in me that I didn't know that I had. So what do I do with it? And I didn't really know until I saw a service that Gail led about vocation. And it was a wonderful, wonderful service. It was called Vocation of the Heart, I think, which is a really lovely way to phrase that. And I just remember like seeing her for the first time, like seeing her as though it were the first time, seeing what she does, that she does research and she does public speaking and worship, she does pastoral care, and she does activism. And I was like, I can do those things. And just in my brain, I'm going to be a minister. What? So we're going to take a little break and let Melanie come on up and play one more song for us before I wrap us up.
I guess I'll be holding the guitar after this because I just broke the stand. And dropped the picks. I have a bunch of them. Anybody in here have perfect pitch? Good. That's probably in tune enough. I think one of Lóre's legacies at this church has been degendering a lot of our hymns, which is great. But I'm about to sing a song with a lot of gender in it about female leaders that I made the mistake of watching the Brett Kavanaugh hearings. So that just triggered some people. Oh, my sisters, be not weary, for we still walk in the valley of the shadow of death. Do not falter, do not fear, daughters of those who would be neither broken nor bent. For we shall come down like a storm, and the world will be reborn. Freedom is our future, and liberty's a lady. Justice may be blind, but she ain't dumb and she ain't waiting. We've paid our dues 1,000 times, and I won't smile and be polite anymore. I'm done waiting for my promised land. Do not rest yet, tired warrior. There's ground left to gain, but we also have much to defend. There is darkness still before us, but the flame of the future will carry us on till the end. And we shall come down like a storm, and the world will be reborn. Freedom is our future, and liberty's a lady. Justice may be blind, but she ain't dumb and she ain't waiting. We've paid our dues 1,000 times, and I won't smile and be polite anymore. I'm done waiting for my promised land. My promised land. Well, he said, she said, got me reeling, 'cause when he says it's facts, but when she says it's feelings. Tell me, would you doubt her just a little bit less if she had just a little more hair on her chest? You say lies come easy to a woman's lips, but you're only breathing thanks to some woman's hips. So you cried for you, bled for you, died for you, bled for you. The least you can do is show a little respect for we shall come down like a storm, and the world will be reborn. Oh, freedom is our future, and liberty's a lady. Justice may be blind, but she ain't dead, but she ain't waiting. Failure do 1,000 times, and I won't smile and be polite anymore. I'm done running for my promised land. My promised land. My promised land.
Thank you, Melanie. I think pulling pronouns out of songs when they're there for no reason, but songs about feminism, absolutely, all the time. Let's do it. I love it. Thank you. That's a really good song. So I had gotten this sign, and I had gotten this idea, but what I had previously thought of as what a minister is and what I am was like a Venn diagram of two circles that didn't touch. There was just I was like, I had never even thought ministry. I mean, I literally, I hadn't even not thought about it, you know? It just didn't occur to me until this church, until people started asking me, how's divinity school going? I was like, what? I'm not in divinity school. Wow, but thank you. And Marguerite once was like, so when are we going to lose you to divinity school? So it seemed like everybody knew but me. And I finally kind of let myself think that this was a possibility. I did a bunch of research on schools after this experience watching Gail talk. And I was like, oh, these schools are not what I expected. These are really cool folks. I mean, the folks at Vanderbilt are cool, but I was like, maybe they're an accident. Maybe they just happen to be really activisty. And no, there's a really strong strain of religious activists that I had never let myself see because I considered myself an atheist, and I thought those two things were separate. And so this was like a whole new world that I was letting myself see. I applied to a few schools, and I was very honored to be accepted to the ones that I applied to, including Harvard. And I was so excited to tell you all, so pumped. I like scurried in and like wrote my little ticket to share with I was like, ooh, and I told the choir. I was so excited. And I told my parents. I told my dad first, and he was very excited and proud. He lives here in Nashville, and so I will be definitely back to visit because he lives here. And I steeled myself to tell my mom. We don't talk much still, but I was like, I mean, this is good news. There's no way we can fight about this, right? I got into Harvard. There's no way. And so I gave her a call, and I mean, she didn't know any of this was in the cards. I hadn't really even told her about this church. I just didn't share that much stuff with her. I called her, and I'm like, Mom, I'm going to become a minister, and I've been accepted to Harvard Divinity School. She goes, where's that? Like, it's in Boston. And she goes, oh, the weather there is terrible. I'm like, Mom, this is like the best school for the thing that I want to do in the world. This is huge news. Like, can we please focus on the positive side of things? But I have been through a lot of therapy, and this church, I've learned a little bit more about nonviolent communication, and so I like breathed. I was like, she's showing concern. This is her way of showing concern, because she remembers that when I was in my freshman year, the weather hit me really hard. So once I took a second and heard what she was actually saying, it was love and concern, just in her own way. And this church kind of has a relationship like that, that's still kind of estranged, still kind of tense, with Greater U Nashville. And I wasn't here when all of this stuff went down with the ministerial misconduct. I wasn't here for that split that happened, but I know that tension is still there, and it still kind of aches a little bit. And I don't know if I'll ever be able to totally forgive my mom, and if we'll ever be able to have a relationship like other people have with their moms. And I don't know if anything can or should be done to maybe bridge the gap a little with Greater Nashville, but I think it's worth thinking about and trying. So I'd gotten this great news, and I don't quite know what to do. But what I do know is that both this church and I have a very exciting few years ahead of us. Lots of big changes coming up. I mean, I'm going to frickin' Harvard, and I don't know what that's going to be like at all. But I can already feel myself getting a little scared. I mean, what if I come back for a visit and I'm different? What if I come back for a visit and what if I come back from a visit and I'm the same? Like there's a lot of growth and change coming. I mean, you all will be building totally new buildings on this campus. You'll be transitioning through a couple different ministers. It'll be a very challenging time where there's a lot of possibility, but there's a lot of possible, new buildings, new people, new skills, new conflicts and mistakes, new heartbreak, but it'll be different this time, and I know it will be different because we've done this before. This church has done this before, and I've done this before. And this time we're choosing to do it. We're choosing to change. We're choosing to be transformed by something difficult. And that's so exciting. There's so much opportunity there. Rather than trying to control or predict what is going to happen to us, I think it's important to focus on how we're going to meet the challenges when they inevitably come. I think if we invite new people in and welcome ideas beyond our own, I think if we are humble and if we compromise and if we just listen to each other and let ourselves be heard, I think something will happen we can't even imagine yet. But I do know that a future that we make together is going to be way better than any future that one of us can imagine by ourselves. That it's going to be bigger and grander and fuller and more for more people. And that's super exciting. It's a great opportunity, and I think we can also have a lot of fun with it. I mean, totally new buildings, we can really make our mark on this congregation, which is super exciting. We can infuse these buildings and these communities with our values and with our principles if we approach it that way. And I'm having fun imagining it. I'm having fun imagining how I'm going to change. I mean, 3 years, everybody's going to change. Everything is going to change. And I wonder if you all would mind taking a moment and imagining it with me. If you'll close your eyes, let's just take a moment and imagine the possibilities. As you breathe out some fluffy vapor fragments of your ideas and your hopes. And breathe in the ones of the people, your peers and your friends all around you. The space between us is an amazing nebula of possibility. And I, for one, cannot wait to see what we become. Thank you all. Thank you so much. Let's hear one more from Melanie.
Oh, Laura, you're so cool. This is so amazing. I love that your mother said, oh, the weather in Boston is so bad, because I lived in Boston for 4.5 years, and we go, oh, at least we're not in Michigan. Seriously. Oh, it's not that cold. Not the Great Lakes, thank God. Just a hurricane, they got snow. Man, I'm imagining a climate-controlled sanctuary where my guitar stays in tune. So amazing. But no, I changed my strings yesterday, so that has way more to do with it than the AC that we fought so hard to repair. Thank you, facilities. We got one more. I'm going to make y'all sing along. You know this one because it's a hymn that we do here. So where I learned it, I'm so thankful that you've asked me to be a part of this, Lori. I'm so thankful that I've gotten to know you and be a part of your life and have you be a part of my life over the last couple of... Oh, man, I'm tuning the wrong string. Rookie move, guys. Yeah. Anyway, Lori's great. Oh, that B string. But yeah, this is just such a special thing, and you're going to go do amazing things, and I'm so excited to see the changes you make and the changes we make. But I hope we keep this song, because I really like this one. And it's gotten me through a couple protests. I did a thing a few months ago now where we all got together, a bunch of singer-songwriters, or like 50 of us. Maybe, I think we had 50 people, so a couple people in bands. We did a house show. We each played 2 songs about protests, and this was one of them, because this is what I hum in my head every time I march. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There's more hope. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. More peace. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. There's justice. There is justice somewhere. There is justice somewhere. And I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is justice somewhere. There's more love. There is more love somewhere. There is love somewhere. And I'm gonna keep on till I find it all. There is more somewhere. There is more somewhere. There is more somewhere. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Lori. Big honking round of applause for Lori. You may be seated. I think you may be, do we have anyone else want words? Do we have more words?
Beth just had a really good idea. If you all would like to take a picture with me, I would really love that, like a big group photo. You can just stay right where you are. If you don't want to be in the photo, that's okay. Now's the time to shuffle on out, and we'll reconvene. But if you want to be in the photo, maybe in this area here, I would